Morning, folks. Welcome to the Joey Show. I'm Joey Avery. Very excited to be with you today. We have an absolute humdinger of a program for you. I mean, thank you, of course, to Joe Dombrowski for being with us last week. Lovely episode with him. But I missed you guys. All right, I feel like I needed you in a one-on-one setting. There was a lot happening last week. In the 1 week, I have a lovely guest with me in Indianapolis. We have a morning routine man who dunks his goddamn face into a bowl, take over the entire internet. We have the Defense Department on doing group chats, sending each other emojis about the Houthis. There's a lot to cover, folks. But I want to start today with an interesting story that I just saw hot off the presses. This comes from my home state. Of course, we're here in New York in the in the studio here in New York, but I do hail from California. And what we have here is California to spend $240 million of taxpayer cash on a prison rehab center with outrageously glitzy amenities. Now, we don't usually start the program off here by talking about the allocation of taxpayer funding. I assure you that won't be the entire show here today. You might be noticing that I am wearing a fine piece of fashion. It's Versace, it's Gucci, it's Hooters. It's a Hooters shirt. We will be talking Hooters bankruptcy. We will be talking torpedo bats. We'll be talking about a lot, but the redesign of San Quentin prison has caught my eye for a very specific reason. $240 million of taxpayer money on a new prison rehab center that comes with lavish amenities, including a farmer's market, grocery store, and a podcast studio for inmates. Now, I don't know if you've looked around at the trinkets, okay, the personal affectations, the tiny touches that have gone into the modeling and design of my podcast studio. And it may come as a great shock to you when you see it decorated with my own album and hats and then like a fucking pine cone candle behind me. This is not a professional podcast studio. This is my living room. Okay, I'm sitting here reading this going, whose ass do I have to fuck to get a podcast studio paid for by the government? I want that. I would kill to have a walkable farmer's market directly near me. I would love to go to the farmers. Oh, what's good today? We're the pearl onions fresh? Oh, I didn't realize the pearl onions were fresh. And then I can go make an entire meal with the pearl onions because I know the pearl onions are fresh. This sounds awesome. This is a vibe, is what it is. Okay, this is San Quentin prison. Okay, the Q. Do they call it the Q? They might call it the Q. They should call it the Q if they don't call it the Q. This is one of California's most notorious prisons, but they're going to make it the most innovative rehabilitation facility by early 2026. This is cutting-edge educational complex. Is that a cutting-edge educational complex? Again, hey, look. I believe in the rehabilitation of prisoners, okay? I'm wearing orange in solidarity right now. I absolutely want people, okay, to go to prison, have an experience that changes their life and that gets them out of there and they go, I want to be a good person from here on out. But if you have a pod that's hopping when you're inside of prison, why would you leave? Do you know how hard it is to get a pod off the ground? Do you know how hard it is to get a nice state-of-the-art studio? Do you know how engaging it is for the average person on YouTube to scroll through a thumbnail and see two prisoners sitting across the desk from one another having a chat? This thing's going to be huge. They should just... the only way that I can accept this, okay, and again, I want people to rehabilitate. I want them to come out better. We all want this. We want this. We want everyone to be better. But if you make it cooler to be in prison with better things than it is to be outside of prison, then I'm going to push over an old lady so that you can send me back to be with my podcast co-host inside of our free studio. Are they paying for an editor and a clip guy? I swear to God, if my tax dollars go to a clip guy for a prison podcast, I'll kill someone myself just for the sake of this pod. I would never, look, it goes against my beliefs. I've watched 7 episodes of White Lotus. I'm a Buddhist. Here's the deal. It feels like a lot. Now, again, we want people to have a chance at rehabilitation. I like that when people go to jail, they read books and do push-ups. I am all for books and push-ups. I'm a huge books and push-ups guy. I think those are 2 great things. A podcast student. How many people start a podcast and become better people? Seriously. How many people do you think have started a podcast and it's made them a better person? And I realize this is coming from the other side of a microphone. Maybe, and again, on this program, we are nothing if not charitable. We try to understand things. We understand there's 2 sides to every issue. I'm not just going to come on here and be like, this goddamn fucking liberal bullshit. No, there could be reasons. We got to explore those reasons. Is this an actual police state psyop to get prisoners to actually admit to their crimes? It's a thought. Sure, you start a pod in prison. Maybe you're not going to snitch on yourself in episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What episode are we on, folks? 58? I believe this is 58 here. This is how prisoners should have to podcast. Solo. Do a solo pod. Maybe a guest every once in a while. You come into my fucking dojo. Okay? Okay? Compadre. And that could be anybody. We're not doing a race thing. Okay? You come into my dojo. You stare down the barrel of a fucking Sony 58 goddamn times. You're going to start running out of shit to talk about. Because you can go in, you can talk about Laundry Day 10 times. Max. Can't do 58 episodes of Laundry Day, brother. That's not going to fly. So the cops could be right. Maybe you walk into the podcast studio at San Quentin prison and you just fucking snitch on yourself. For who? For the fans. How many? 7. Talk to me when you get to 12. I'm just saying. All right? I'm just saying. This is the type of shit that makes people go crazy. Now, what if it does rehabilitate people? Let's game this out. What if people go to prison and they've never had a pod before? And now they go into prison, they get themselves a podcast, and it's like when you have a baby and you're all of a sudden you're like, I'm living for 2. I'm living for 2 now. I can't commit the same mistakes. I have a growing pod to look after. I got to look after my podcast. Maybe you'd think that, and maybe that does make sense. But when you get out of jail and you realize you got to pay your own clip guy because Uncle Sam's not paying for it anymore, now all of a sudden you're going back to jail just to keep the pod alive. There's a lot of potential pitfalls here that I would think Gavin Newsom would understand as a man who has recently birthed a healthy, beautiful, young, growing podcast. Maybe Gavin Newsom is doing this for his podcast. Maybe he's going to tape in the queue. Maybe he's going to go to San Quentin and tape his podcast. The prison is known for housing bloodthirsty serial killers and other dangerous offenders, including Charles Manson, William Bonin. Yeah, I was boning when I got in there. Richard Night Stalker Ramirez and wife killer Scott Peterson. Big difference here between Richard Night Stalker. You want the branding in the middle of your name. That does a much heavier, like does so much for the vibe to go Richard Night Stalker Ramirez versus wife killer Scott Peterson. If it was like WWE, welcome to the ring, Scott wife Kevin Peterson. Now perhaps we could be doing something, but they put it in front, which wasn't very nice. Night Stalker. Well, that could be a little bit more interesting, but I'm sure he was doing that. Who stalks during the day? Morning routine guy, maybe. We'll get to him later. In 2023, the Democratic governor announced plans to convert the prison into a Nordic-style facility designed to help inmates transition smoothly to civilian life once released. Newsom's administration even hired Schmidt Hammer Lassen, a Danish architecture firm, to redesign the maximum security prison into a Scandinavian-inspired incarceration center. Is anyone picking up on what could be a potential problem here? Is anyone one step ahead of me in considering what could possibly go wrong in changing one of California's most notorious prisons into something modeled after a Scandinavian incarceration center? If we could play the Jeopardy music right now, and we'll think about it. And racism. That is it, folks. That would be the large difference. I don't know if you've been to Denmark recently, but I have a feeling that when you go to Denmark, they don't have to split the gangs up by race into groups that protect each other by race so that they don't get into huge fights and wars by race. These are just thoughts. These are thoughts. Do with them what you will, and perhaps you could put them on your podcast. Now, don't get me wrong. As the concept of this as a podcast empire, I am in. This would just replace No Jumper, right? We wouldn't need No Jumper. We don't need Adam 22, talking with people about doing whippets and letting everyone fuck his wife. We could get much more colorful characters, I think, in prison. I would listen to this podcast network. I would invest in this podcast network. I would host a podcast. I will guest on a podcast. I'm in. I just don't know from the state perspective why they're describing my perfect luxury apartment complex. I would pay a large amount for these amenities, Gavin, and apparently I am. But can we use them? Can people from the outside come in and use the studio and the clip guy? Is it just like, do they just have like the Your Mom's House team? They have people that will sit there and they'll kind of be the producer and they'll laugh in the background of everyone's pod. I mean, sure. It's supposed to help normalize prisoners by allowing them access to a library, cafe, stores, classrooms, and media facilities that are strategically located on higher levels to prioritize access to natural light and flexibility. Why leave? They're going to get you're not getting these people used to civilian life. You're getting them used to a great liberal arts college. I would go here if I could fuck anything other than men. I would. Okay, and maybe a time to experiment. I mean, and this has always been what's interesting about San Quentin, is it is beautiful property. It's beautiful real estate. It's right on the water in the Bay Area. It's right near Mill Valley. This is going to be a great farmer's market. Have you guys been to Mill Valley? Have you been to the North Bay? It's the only thing these fucks won't be able to do is hike. They'll have everything else. This is gonna be the new White Lotus. They're gonna film an episode of the White Lotus here, written by Mike White, Mike Mexican, and Mike Black in very different locations. I should have said Mike. Okay. Anyway. Okay. So luxury rehabilitation center. Now, these better be for the best prisoners. And maybe this will only be for the snitches. Now, this makes sense. This makes a lot of sense. If you've been on really good behavior and they want to say, okay, you're going to work hard, we will get you access to a farmer's market, natural light, a library, a fucking e-cafe, might as well have a Pilates class, Might as well give out free hand jobs. This might just be for the snitches, in which case, circling back, the podcast studio makes a lot of sense. And that I do support. If it's a podcast only for snitches in prison that is well branded, well clipped, and we get to listen to it, and folks, I don't want to be, I haven't had this experience, and I respect the people who have gone through it. I realize it's a hard time in people's lives, and for a lot of people, going there changes you. You come out a better person, and that's what I hope for prison. That's what I want it to be, and I like the concept that I think that there are ways other than just being punitive and being an asshole. I do think that there are ways that encourage people to be better people, right? Hurt people. You try and I understand all of that. That's great. That's what we want. But unless you have some very entertaining snitches on this pod network, I'm gonna be unhappy that we paid for it. The new space is also set to offer inmates the chance to enjoy not just the indoors, but the outdoors as well, with nature-filled areas for them to enjoy. A rendered image showed what a garden space in between the building would look like. It looks great. This looks like Van Wilder with Vatos. This looks like a nice time. And maybe this is what it takes. Look, it's worth a shot, but you can't make it nicer than where people will go back to. This is the problem. If you make the prison really nice, but the cost of living in these surrounding areas of California make it impossible to live well for people on the outside, then you're fucked. Maybe we can do both. I believe in California. I love I believe in it. But if it's too expensive to live as well outside as you're living inside, we might have a problem here. But that's okay. We can hear about it on the podcast. Well, we'll see. Look, I hope so, is what I will say, is that I hope that things do go well. That's what I believe in. Another story here. This one just, it touches at the heart of a certain kind of America, a deep America, perhaps an America that is long gone, an America that is written across the shirt that I am currently wearing. That is, of course, the fact that Hooters, Hoot Towns, Hootie Hooties, the boob-based restaurant, has filed for bankruptcy. Now, a lot of people are thinking this might be a sad day, the final death knell of an era long gone. Now, we're going to dig into the weeds here. We're going to discuss what this actually means, because Hooters is not 100% going away. You will still be able to have a wing with your breast when you want to. Yes, it's an obvious joke, but it's a joke that we make here nonetheless. It's part of radio craft. But I was thinking about this, okay? So, again, Hooters will be around. It's not completely going away. But what could cause Hooters to go bankrupt? I think a lot of people, and again, we'll dig into the nitty-gritty on what actually happened here, but I think a lot of people see this, and the initial thought, the initial instinct is to say, that was just a past era. People don't think that's cool anymore. Okay, Me Too has happened. There's been a large reckoning in society, in workplaces, in the restaurant industry itself. I've been watching a documentary about how Mario Batali used to grab women in all sorts of unfortunate places, at the very least. Mama Mia, as they say in the industry. That's not really what happened here. Other people take the opposite tack. Other people are like, well, why? It's not Me Too. Why would you go to Hooters when tits and box are all over the place? All over the place. You got Pornhub, you got OnlyFans, you have all sorts of repositories of sex. You can see boobs and ass and pussy and dong, and sometimes you can even mix and match. You could get a set of tits on a dong. You can do all sorts of. The internet's basically a Mr. Potato Head of sex these days. Why would you go to a Hooters just for a cold one, to have an awkward experience with a waitress? But that's not it either. Then maybe you go further, and I think this might have something to do with it. This, I think, might have some. I blame ass to some level. Now, of course, the world is big enough for tits and ass and all sorts of things, as we just discussed. People like a little bit of everything. They sure do. I think that the popularity of ass has eaten into the tit kingdom that has existed for a long time. Now, I know this might sound like sophomoric analysis, unbecoming of a high-level NPR-funded political show such as The Joey Show, but I would say that is not true, because what we study are titans of industry and how they fall and what leads to them. Okay, tits remain popular, vital, important to some babies, the elixir of life, a giver of fluid that helps you grow. Other people like to play with them. You can lick them, you can flick them, you can bounce them up and down. There's all sorts of fun things. And people will always love tits, as they should. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not the most important thing in the world, but people like them. Don't expect that to change. That being said, when ass came onto the scene, tits had a hegemony. Tits ruled everything. Okay, tits was a behemoth. Okay, it had grown, it had expanded. It was the only industry in town. It was all that mattered. When Sir Mix-a-Lot came out with "I like butts," people lost their minds. They were like, could he be lying? And he said, "Nay, I cannot lie." That's how he was knighted in the first place. That's why he is Sir Mix-a-Lot. "Nay, I cannot lie." A knight cannot tell a lie. This we know. When you become an empire dominant for too long, you rest on your laurels. Funny enough, for tits, they had no idea laurels were resting there all along. When ass came onto the scene, I don't know if Hooters even knew how to adjust. I think if you started at a new place today and just called it thick, people might go to that. I think that could be a real booming business. I think if Hooters wants to take over the new space of the drunk off 4 hazy IPAs and potentially off pharmaceuticals man who wants to watch March Madness while being around women, but also isn't actually going to do anything, which is what he's screaming in the phone to his wife. What was I going to do anything? I was just fucking having wings with the boys, dude. I just wanted to be around some tits and ass. Okay, I just wanted to be around that in a safe space, in a sanctioned environment. I wanted to use my dollar to do that. I didn't do anything weird. I'm not Mario Batali. I'm not grabbing ass up in this bitch. I'm just trying to zonk out on some IPAs with my boys and be generally around women that we know we're not going to get, that we're not going to say anything to until we write a smiley face on the check, but that we all look at each other and be like, dude, I'm pretty sure that chick totally fucking wanted me, dude. That chick totally fucking wanted me. That's how men have always behaved. Not the happiest men in society. No, I think there's space to evolve. I think you want to be better than that. I'm not saying that's a depiction of me. It's not. I'm 6'8". I have a 12-inch cock. I'm just different. But this is how people behave. And there is a space for that. But I think Hooters became too focused on one thing. It was an empire, left an opening, and all empires fall. But actually, it's none of those reasons at all. What it actually is that, like everything in America, it was a popular restaurant that became a very popular piece, and then private equity decided it wanted to get its hands on it. No pun intended. Honk, honk. And so private equity hops in. They buy Hooters, much like they've bought many other large, once great titans of American fast casual. And they get sloppy, they get lazy, they strip it for parts, they remove the soul out of it. Yes, I'm saying they removed the soul out of the place that was all about objectifying tits. Truly, it did have a soul. So private equity kind of runs it as it can, uses it as an investment, and it gets away from what made it great. What made it great? Well, I'm not at liberty to say. I've talked about it for too long. So now it is actually filed for bankruptcy. And 95 different press outlets use the phrase "restaurant chain Hooters goes bust." and files for bankruptcy. And why wouldn't you, folks? I'm not judging headline writers. There's only so many you can use. And they used here a photo of all Asian Hooters waitresses, which is a very fascinating choice. Not what they're known for in either case, if you know what I'm talking about. All right, Hooters is going bust. Yep, we're doing it. HOA Restaurant Group filed the motion for Chapter 11. It is the latest restaurant chain to run into financial trouble amid high food and labor prices. That's part of it, changing customer tastes and growing competition from newer casual chains like Shake Shack, Red Lobster, TGI Fridays, and Buca de Beppo all filed for bankruptcy protection last year, while the Tex-Mex chain on the border filed for bankruptcy protection last month. It might be possible that all these concepts are outdated. There's also this is hard to like fit into a Financial Times article that cites like growing like larger economic pressures and like more competition. But there is a world where in the year of our Lord 2025, thank God it's Friday. Buca de Beppo, Mama Mia. You want Mexican? Let's go to fucking On the Border, dude. Like, and then the restaurant called Tits. It's possible that they just went out of style a little bit. It is possible. Mildly out of style. Do you want to go to Tits, Mama Mia, or fucking Si Se Puede? No? All right. Dude, On the Border for a Tex-Mex change, it just, I am, if they don't have a white dude in a sombrero and a poncho just out front, I would be shocked. Can we look at On the Border? Let's take a peek here. On the Border Tex-Mex. Let's take a peek. All right, the website's still up. That's good. Yeah, they've really moved away from human-centric. And look, I'm not saying there's not a border. I understand that. I'm just saying it doesn't scream authentic Mexican. Although it is Tex-Mex. You know what? Let's be fair. It is Tex-Mex, and Texas and Mexico, that is on the border. That is on the border. I do love Tex-Mex. Join the boldest team around. We're hiring at On the Border. Join the familia. We believe in bringing out the best in people, which is why recognition is in our DNA. When you join On the Border, you will have endless opportunities to be the best, capitalized, make money, capitalized, and have fun, capitalized. Not all caps, by the way. Best is the B, make money both first, and have fun. So the copywriter is an idiot. Or the CEO walked in and was like, no, we need to send a message. Okay, Juan Felix? All right. Type this one in English. We need to send a message here. Capitalize them so that people know this is part of our like core mission statement. Okay, so if you work it On the Border, okay, when you're bringing out the chips, the salsa, and the guac, okay, it is so that you can be the best, okay, have fun, and make money. Do we think anyone working there, and I could be wrong, maybe you love it, is doing any one of those things? When you're bringing out the ninth, like, over sweet and soured margarita to just an absolutely drunk aunt who is finally using On the Border as like a segue into the conversation she really wants to have about how she supports how ICE is like actually stepping up deportations. Do you feel like you're being the best, making money? What are they making? Are we making money? Are we making money? And are we having fun? A job at On the Border means saying yes to a people first, again, we're just assume this is all randomly capitalized, Trump style. People first culture in a lively and engaged environment. We attract individuals who have fresh ideas and passion for growing leaders. We attract individuals who have fresh ideas and passion for growing leaders. That is not even grammatically correct, folks, unless you are trying to attract individuals who themselves will grow leaders, perhaps. Okay, together we can make a difference in the lives of every guest we encounter. This could have, and my only fear is that it wasn't, because it should have been written by an artificial intelligence. If you told the computer, please analyze general corporate jargon and shit something out, that's what you would get here. This is what happens when too many people work at a company. People first. They must have hired like an agency to do it. Our story began with 3 friends who wanted to share. I wasn't expecting to do an On the Border deep dive today, folks, but here we are. Our story began with 3 friends who wanted to share their passion for border-style food and handcrafted margaritas with the world. Founded in 1982, it has expanded to 150 locations, domestic and international. Okay. Let's see hourly opportunities. I mean, I want have fun, work smart, be the best. Be the best. We're the best around, and no one's ever gonna keep me down. Where the fuck are my chips? Sorry, yeah, they'll be right there. Look, I'm not making fun. The people who work there, God bless. I think you would just be making fun of this copy too. I don't know, and hopefully it has launched some. Damn, there's a lot of fucking jobs here. All named bartender. Okay. Busser. Can I get an hourly? Highly competitive earning opportunities. Okay. This is gonna be a dead end here, but can you see yourself having fun and hustling every shift? Do you strive to be the best every day? If you have a competitive spirit and want to win, we want to meet you. You know, I guess that it is probably smart to have some of this language, because when you're tracking down, you know, some of these could be young people. You want to get some athletes in there. You want to get some athletes there on the border, dude. But yeah, the beautiful thing is, ultimately, folks, that Hooters is not going away. It ended up being sold back to some of the original franchisees, which include, I believe, the 2 founders. So a group of franchisees of some more successful Hooters locations, including a couple of the founders, are taking it back under their wing, and they are going to bring back that fun tit-loving atmosphere that you folks have missed. So never fear, Hooters, have a beer. We'll be back after these messages. All right, folks, hitting the road. Let's run through some dates real quick before we bring you back to the show, and more show we have for you. Chicago this weekend, April 4th, 5th, and 6th at both Rosemont and the downtown location, Pottstown, PA, East Providence, Rhode Island. I'm just going to read the places instead of the dates so it's faster. Bangor, Maine, Portland, Maine, Raleigh, North Carolina, Dallas, Texas, Sacramento, California, San Francisco, California, Cleveland, Ohio, St. Petersburg, Florida, which is Tampa-ish, Levittown, New York, which is Long Island, Charlotte, North Carolina, San Diego, California, all coming your way. DC should be coming in there soon. Merch, link is in the description. Get it while you can. A little bit left as we roll through some dates here leading up to a fun little time for us, and some announcements coming that I've already kind of alluded to. Any ads this week? This episode has been brought to you by San Quentin Prisons Podcast Network. I'm going to have ChatGPT write a pod, and then I'm just going to live read it, and we'll see how this goes. Okay. Upbeat, gritty background music fades in. Host, confident, engaging tone. From behind the walls of one of America's most infamous prisons comes a voice you won't expect, but need to hear. San Quentin Prison Podcasts bring you raw, unfiltered stories straight from the men living them. From hard-hitting interviews to personal reflections, our network delivers truth, redemption, and real talk straight from the yard. Subscribe now and hear the voices that refuse to be silenced. San Quentin Prison Podcasts. Stories from the inside for everyone on the outside. That is... I hate that AI is taking over everything, but podcast ad copy might as well. That's pretty good. All right, back to the show. All right, folks, didn't want to do this one too early because I think we've all seen quite a bit of it. But this whole morning routine, man, that took over the internet last week, it deserves, I think, an analysis. You may be sick of it. And that would be fair. I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot of it because he did the morning routine video. It went everywhere. And then just about everyone on earth immediately did a spoof of it because the easy spoof is like, look, I'm lazy. So here's the lazy version of the morning routine, and that's me being lazy about it. I'm going to play it right here just so we can, just in case this somehow missed you, what I really want to do, okay, because I know that it's been talked about, it's been seen, like any viral moment, we kind of move past it. I think what's interesting about it is what it says about where we're at, why this particular thing went viral. So we're going to play this now, and then we're going to discuss some other favorite viral trends and kind of what it was like in society then and how far we've come and where are we going. I don't know. Is it good? I don't know. Here's Ashton Hall in absolute, if I may say so myself, brick shithouse. 3:52 a.m., the mouth tape comes off. Yes, I'm depriving you of the delicious ASMR, but we have audio listeners too. The Saratoga water. Let's announce it like a baseball game. The Saratoga water goes into the cup, folks. 4 a.m., 4:01. He is out on the balcony, and he is doing push-ups, folks. He is breathing. He is flexing his pecs. Big, beautiful, dark pecs. He's got him. He's got a book. 4:22. Look at him go. 4:55. He's drinking water. He's being serious about the Lord's business. He's watching the Lord. And now the ice goes in the bowl. The Saratoga water goes into the bowl. It's 5:49 a.m. and it's 6:01 a.m. The nose clamp comes off. He's breathing through them nostrils now. 6:07. The mood ring goes on. Jewelry goes on. 6:17. He's packing up a fanny bag. They'd call him a Metro back in the day, but now he is all that is man. 6:23. 6:52. Now he is on the treadmill. He's out. 7:30, he's out. He's already worked out. 7:31 a.m. He is going to the pool. My man is getting wet. Jumping in, defying stereotypes, goes straight into the pool. 7:51 into the hot tub. A man with a thing walks by. 8:15, 8:21. He's back at the house. He is showering. Would love to see his cock. 8:35, 8:43. He's rubbing a banana on his face, folks. No reason to do that. 9:05. Bowl of water. Dips it in once again. 9:15. He is doing a meeting. He's got a lady cooking for him. Lucky man, but I'm pretty sure he pays her. She's not sucking his dick unless he pays her for that too. 9:26. Hot sauce onto the eggs. And that's your day, folks. Woo! That was exhilarating. So that's the Ashton Hall morning routine if announced. And I am glad that we announced it. Now, Ashton Hall has blown the living fuck up since this happened. He was already doing quite well. Now, what's interesting here is that, of course, Ashton Hall, his business is a social media coach. So he sells programs here. I don't have the pricing splits in front of me. I believe they range from the 3,000, 5,000, 8,000 tiers. I do believe these are annual, and we will do it just so that you know, so you can understand that this guy, it's not an example of those who can't teach because he's doing social media, folks. And I watched some of his videos, and he discusses how, one of the things that he does is he reads comments and he plays into what the comments are saying. So the reason that I mention this is that at first when you watch it, I think the initial inclination everyone has is to be like, oh, this guy's dumb. He's stupid. He's obviously a joke. He's a tool. He's ridiculous. No one's actually living this life. Obviously, you can't fake that body, even if you're roided up. Still can't fake that body. He is preaching good things. He's preaching being a good person. He's not an Andrew Tate telling people, fuck this, that. He's saying work hard, take care of yourself. These are all good things. But he also is like, read the comments and play into what people are doing. So people losing their minds, like, what an idiot. He rubs a banana on his face. He knows that you're going to say that. and he's played into this whole thing. What he has done is created a piece of content that is perfectly optimized for the social media environment. It is all the things social media coaches say to do. It is focused on storytelling. It weaves in ASMR. It has cinematic aesthetics that give like this high quality thing, but it shows his life. It has a message, and it has a paid in call to action. Come to me, I can teach you how to be Mr. Social Media. And now that it has actually worked for him, it's going to do well. Now, are you an idiot if you pay for that $8,000 plus course? Certainly, yes, you are dumb. You can just watch and learn for yourself, and that's okay. But he's not dumb for doing it. The reason I think this went so viral, aside from all the obvious strategies that we just discussed, is that we are in a moment right now as a society where we are constantly seeing everyone doing things at all times and feeling like we're not enough. So I'm not the first one to say this. This is obvious. Social media is built around showcasing the best version of yourself, and then while you're the worst version of yourself, you're just scrolling and going, why the fuck am I not doing that? And so not only do you see his life, or some people see his life as aspirational or entertaining or worth goofing on, but also some people connect with it on this level of like, oh, maybe the reason that I'm not currently happy is because, and again, a lot of people are just joking about it, but people who take it seriously, there's a lot of people who are like, maybe I'm not happy. Maybe the hole in me is because I haven't optimized enough. I've been breathing out of my mouth like a fucking rube for years. I have not dunked my stupid fat face into expensive mineral water that a woman in a coat helped me prepare ice for. And I have not watched the Sermon of God today, and I have not done my journal, and I have not done my sprint, and I have not eaten my perfect protein meal, and I have not done this, and the reason that I'm failing is because I'm not doing all this, and the thing that I need to do is I guess I gotta buy this guy's course. I think it does resonate on that level, because I think that all viral moments, there's an element of luck, there's an element of seriousness, and there's an element of goofiness, where people who don't buy into it can just make fun of it and talk about what a ridiculous thing is, while a lot of other levels of society are like locked into it. I think that's a confluence of what can make things, the sincere engagement mixed with eventual mocking and hate. Like, that's what anything on the internet is, honestly. Like, a lot of things, anything that gets good eventually reaches some level of mocking and meme and just turns into a joke at some point. And so I think that him going viral in this day and age is a perfect example of where we're at, because it is this optimization level of like, maybe I'm not doing enough. Maybe I'm not doing enough because I'm seeing people doing things and I'm not doing enough. He goes out to eat. He's eating a gold steak, some fucking ridiculous thing that no one should even want. It's devoid of soul, okay? But people are like, I need that. And it's built by someone who has built a team of people who know how to optimize social stuff. And so it's this perfect storm of everything. Now, I was thinking to some early viral moments, and we have an incomplete list here. I mean, and I don't want to include like Two Girls, One Cup, because there's, for obvious reasons, I don't want to include that. But I recall that being, that was dark web viral. I think I remember one of the very first things in my life that went super viral being the Coney 2012 video. I think I may have mentioned this on here before, but the Coney 2012 was the initial viral hit, because it was basically like it was classic. It was like, it was this early it was Invisible Children was the name of the first documentary, and they like came to our school. They had like group meetups, and this documentary went viral, and it was this very innocent era of kind of like liberal internet person, where it's like, dude, we first have the ability to reach all these people. and it's Obama era. It's like we do believe. It's not so cynical where everyone's like, yeah, who knows? Trump might shoot a Supreme Court justice in the face, but there's actually a way to argue that in the Constitution. Or it wasn't so cynical. It was like people believe like maybe we can be different. Maybe the internet and technology is going to be different. And so a bunch of white dudes were like, dude, have you heard Africa is like kind of fucked? And they found this Joseph Kony figure who, like, obviously was a bad guy and was a warlord and had, I think, taken children and had child soldiers and all sorts of things. And so they were like, we're going to take this guy out. Now, of course, the naivete of, like, learning one thing about global geopolitics and being like, let's fucking do it, and then accidentally destabilizing a region because you didn't want to go into working for Goldman Sachs when you got out of college because it felt kind of soul-sucking, even though that's how your dad made his money. It can be a problem, but I get where it comes from. I would do it too. And then Kony 2012 kind of became this whole joke. It became viral, but then it became ridiculed, and then it became a joke. And then one of the dudes ended up in the street jerking off in San Diego. We should see how he's doing now. I hope he's better now. And honestly, I don't hate that move. Like if I were to strip down naked and jerk off in the street somewhere, San Diego is a great place to do it. It's a hell of a town. The weather's usually good if you're going to have a crank out there. Kony 2012 jerk off guy. He is currently based in DC and working as an actuary and consultant with the Siegel Group. He specializes in multi-employer pension plans. Okay. Well, there you go. Oh, we're doing a GoFundMe. Well, maybe not. He met the goal. Creative activist, a humanitarian documentarian, a samurai Maasai warrior for world peace. Well, I don't love that. Got a little sidetracked there on the whole Jason Russell thing. I can't tell what he's up to. There's a GoFundMe where he claims that his soul died that day and he's homeless, but he's been reborn now and the government's attacking homeless people. But that GoFundMe also claims that he doesn't have social media or a phone or email, so it could likely just be a scam, and the photo that's used is weird. I'm gonna leave it. If you're interested in that, you can go do that. But it was a pure undertaking that ended up in a bit of mania, and this is what happens with a lot of viral moments. We've discussed Hawk Tuah, this year's other viral moment, at length in terms of what it did to her. Fame is not necessarily a healthy thing, but when you mix it with talent, I guess, it can be okay. When you mix it with something real, you can get through it. But when you just get famous for nothing, it can get bad. Ashton, I think, will be fine. But the internet used to be a more pure place. I was looking at some of the earliest viral moments, and it was like, Charlie bit my finger.
Charlie bit me. And that really hurt, Charlie, and it's still hurting.
Yeah. That's what it was. It was like, did you know kids are cute and some of them are British? And that makes them even cuter? Like, that was it. It was a nice time. It was different. We had the ALS ice bucket challenge. That was a viral moment. Now, of course, we end up joking about it because it's like, all right, everyone's doing it. You're just going to fucking dump ice on people. But it's like people were cold plunging and doing things for good purposes, and this one took root. And it might be the last time that the entire internet organized around a principle that was like, you know what? Let's fix ALS. Did that work? I don't think so. But did black squares fix racism? Well, it might have. It might have. It's possible that we did realize that viral moments for a cause didn't end up working, and this is a problem. We tried to wipe out the younger generation with eating Tide Pods. That's, I think, when things started getting a little bit darker in terms of viral trends. And I don't know what's going to happen next. If I had to guess what would have been popular this year, and it would have been a drunk girl in Nashville saying that... frankly, a drunk white girl, like Southern Belle energy in Nashville saying, boy, you just got to hawk to and spit on that thing. And then a completely jacked, like like fight for excellence, incredibly crispy, aesthetic, just Gucci'd, fashion designered out, success morning routine, jacked, excellent black man, I would have said, yeah. That sounds exactly like what would go viral. So what happens? What comes next? What comes next? There will be something like, I think AI could probably predict it. Should we ask AI? This podcast is not going to be me asking AI what's going to happen. Although AI will have a podcast somewhere around when prisoners do. Can you predict the next viral moment? It's going to say something stupid. This is where it gets, okay, analyzing past trends in current internet culture, I can make some educated guesses. Here's some likely candidates for the next big viral phenomenon. AI-generated memes and content. You self-serving motherfucker. You self-serving motherfucker. This is like when I proclaimed the beginning of White Boy Summer. You ain't slick. You ain't slick, computer. Yeah, I bet it's going to be AI-generated memes and content. Yeah, I bet. Prediction, a deep-fake AI-generated meme or interactive AI-powered trend. A chatbot that generates wild, personalized stories. This shit is already happening. ASMR fitness challenges. Yes. None of it. Yes, we've already done this. This is why you don't have a podcast, AI. This is not creative. New musical genre meme song like Baby Shark. Real life video game stunts. That's kind of good. That's kind of good. All right. Well, whatever. That's why it's not going to be an AI related thing, dude. It has to have more oomph. It has to have more zhuzh on it. There's things you just can't predict. I'm going to say we've done spitting on a dick. And we've done self-care kind of ASMR fitness guru, and that hits two large trends. I think it's going to be something going the other way. It's going to be something that's, if Ashton Hall hit because it was so produced, next thing that's going to hit, I think, is going to be reactionarily just genuine, like a moment, wearing sweatpants to court or something that is the antithesis of this. Because I get it. I think that the awakening of human beings towards taking care of yourself, because it is actually what makes you feel better, is a beautiful thing. And so, yes, you get your sleep, you try to live a little bit longer, a little bit healthier, a little bit happier. You try to eat right, all that's good. You want to be cognizant to how you're feeling. But the flip side of that, and what it feels like we're losing, is any semblance of original artistic thought and soul. And I realize that, if you want to defend it, to be like, well, no, he's a Jesus guy. And it's like, yeah. That's kind of spiritual optimization. And I'm happy for you. But I mean, like a writer who has something interesting to say is the opposite of that. You think about, now granted this man killed himself over a lady, but you think about an Anthony Bourdain, the way he could wax poetic about having a beer in a foreign country, or waking up with a hangover in France and eating a sandwich, and explaining how that's part of the human condition and how that's beautiful. And there's no space for that if you're in this complete constant optimization. Well, I had my cheat meal, and it's yes, you can't eat like shit all the time. You need to be healthy most of the day. That's totally fine. But you need some heart in something. Otherwise, we just over optimize for everything, and it changes things and it makes things weird. And that's the way things are going. Have you seen the new baseball bats? The Yankees have discovered this new torpedo bat in the MLB, which is apparently technically inside of MLB regulations, where they moved some wood from a part of the bat that you're not trying to hit the ball with, and they moved it to the barrel, so you get a fatter barrel. It's like when I was a kid, we had the Mark McGwire backyard wiffle ball bat that just had a bunch of air in it and was just juiced up, and you could just hit fucking dingers like you were a steroided up freak, and life was good and it was beautiful, and you drank from the hose and you played backyard baseball and things were fine. You didn't have an iPad to stare at. You just watched the evening baseball game. You wanted to be like them, and then you ran out and played around till sunset. It was nice. And maybe it was safer, or maybe we just didn't know, but we were allowed to play till dusk. Okay? Even if we had a registered sex offender in the neighborhood, we just assumed he would stay inside. But it was a fine time, and the torpedo bat is bringing back a little bit of offense to baseball. Now, the messenger is important. People are mad because the Yankees are doing it. Fuck the Yankees. Understood. People like home runs. We miss steroids. Understood. Kind of funny that when baseball players were doing steroids, less of society was. Now I think all the fitness influencers that are like, bro, eat your eggs, are on steroids. But there's a lot of controversy, and people are mad because it is the Yankees. Now, other teams are going to be able to do this. I think Ellie De La Cruz from the Reds debuted a torpedo bat and went 4 for 5 with several home runs. So it's going to be interesting to see what baseball does with it, because they want a little bit more offense. But you don't want to fuck everything up, and you'd only want some teams using it. But this is what I mean by this maximalist approach to everything, that it might take the soul out of certain things, but it's these tiny little, things have gotten so complex as we've figured out, as everyone is competing in the landscape of baseball and stats, okay, and social media. Everyone is figuring out these tiny tweaks and optimizations and these little things that make a huge difference. And now here's where we are, and it's kind of like, what happened to just being good at stuff? But that's not what we do. It's what Trump is doing too. It is insane, constant stretching of the rules and boundaries at every level until the rules are capable of telling you to stop. And we covered the whole sending migrants to El Salvador thing. We assumed, as we said, of course, if these are proven gang members, get them out of the country. But I said I have trouble believing that 100% of these people are going to fit the bill. And as time goes on, if you're paying attention to that story, what has happened, but we at the Joey Show have been proven correct. And see, this light now is flashing on and off if you're watching the video, and this is the CIA. This is actually, the CIA has infiltrated my lighting system because we were right, again, as we always are. And I'm going to fix this so that you don't have a seizure watching it. So there it is. That's what happens when I try to tell the truth, okay? We get taken down once again. They are getting crazy with the deportations. We have one story here, and we're not going to dive into this too deeply. It's you can get these from more political programs, but ICE detains University of Alabama doctoral student as government's college crackdown continues. According to ICE records, Iranian national Alireza Daroudi is currently being held in a detention facility after he was recently detained. Yeah, I would say stop doing that. Please don't. Stop doing that. That's out of control. It's out of control. Now, I go on to read this article, and the lawyers are saying he didn't do anything illegal. He also wasn't even involved in any political protest. Now, that shouldn't even be part of the conversation. As you can see, the light is getting mad at me again, so we're going to turn it off. Well, democracy dies in darkness, folks, but that shouldn't even be part of the conversation because you're allowed to do that as a legal resident in America. But he wasn't even doing that. So this is a very simple, quick message to the Trump organization. If you guys are going to deport brown people for studying It's going to be a long and busy 4 years. Stop doing that. That's not what we do. All right, couple final things here. A little bit of technology here. Ring has introduced an interesting new little piece of tech here. Some people are gonna love this. Some people are gonna hate it. Let's take a watch.
Okay, this is a camera that flies inside your house and broadcasts everything straight to your phone. So Ring is about to release the Always Home, a camera that gives you a live view of any area of your house at the press of a button. So first you just walk around with it so you can configure the areas in your app. And once it's set up, now you can tell it to go anywhere, especially if you want to check if you left some food behind in the kitchen, or use it to keep an eye on your pet without having static cameras all over your house. It also works with Ring alarm, so if there is any motions, it launches itself and gives you a live view straight to your phone. For me, this is one of those kind of products that make you feel like you're living in the future. But what about you? Do you think this is the kind of product you want to have around your house?
Yeah, the future is bright for cucks is my main takeaway here. Like if you're real if what you're actually into is watching your gal, I think is the usual, or guy or whatever, get absolutely plowed. Now you have a drone you can fly from room to room in your house to catch her. That the future has never been so. That's one of the things that I think people don't understand when they look at these things and they're like, oh, that's Orwellian, and you don't realize like people are going to be able to hack into that. And if you're smart and you realize that the way that like the CIA, our government, or China or foreign adversaries, like the way people can actually get into technology, you should be afraid of this sort of thing. It's not as hard as you'd think, and that's the glass half empty, and the glass half full is, if you are into getting cucked, head on down to Radio Shack, baby, because it's a bright, bright future. I mean, it is just, like, of course this is going to exist, but I'm not sure it's good. I think that's where I'm at with everything is, no, I can see how we got here and where it's going, but oops, maybe? Oops, maybe. And then the normal take is people will be like, I'm not exactly a government spy, but I do leave my keys at home. I'm like, right, no, totally understand that. But you sure about the drone that flies around your house and sees everything? What if you wake up in the middle of the night and it's just, oh, that's weird. I must have turned that off. It's just watching you sleep. No, thank you. And I want to say that to the AI that's listening to me, respectfully and thankfully, King, but no, thank you. I'm okay. And then finally, there's two routes we could take this. Okay. CNN says adults can sleep with stuffed animals too. It might even be a good thing, experts say. It's just, to me, it's the pivot and the juxtaposition of you spend the day catching up on the news. You go, oh, that's interesting. They're rounding up people who might not have actually been part of a gang and sending them to El Salvador to a very intense prison and shaving their heads. And also in the same publication, but it's okay if you need a blankie. Like this is, and like even in the article, it's like, well, some people are lonely and like the world's becoming an ever more stressful place. And so it can be. Now, I want to be clear here. I have a stuffed animal from when I was a child. Okay. I didn't bring him to New York with me, but he's at home in my bedroom. Okay. You don't know about Monkey. Monkey's a dude. Okay. Monkey's a nice stuffed animal. It's got the right limb structure so you can have a nice cuddle. And I like to, if I'm sleeping alone, if my wife's not there, I like to cuddle a pillow, or, you could get Monkey going, and it's a good cuddle. Now, the mere fact that I have done this recently does not justify anyone else doing it. Because when other people do it, it's sick, And it's an example of a declining society that is running from its problems. But when I do it, it's because Monkey's that dude. And yes, am I sleeping with a man and cuddling a male? Monkey is, I guess, it could be either way. But as a child, it was a dude. Because what am I going to sleep with a lady? I'm 4. What am I, a slut? I'm sleeping with Monkey. That's my dude. Aha. So it's really weird and sick and disgusting that people are doing this. But also, I do it, and it's awesome. And it makes sense when I've done it. Does that make sense? Because I didn't get it from an art. If you're reading CNN and you're like, oh, you know what? You're right. The world is actually scary out there. Maybe I should snuggle up with a little teddy bear. Wrong. Jail. Put you in jail. The article is full of sick and twisted things. We all, as adults, we all get together and we make new ones and we bring them home and your children. Your children. I'm a man who's going home and just reconnecting with an old friend. I don't see what's so wrong with that. It is a scary world out there. Maybe everyone does need a little monkey, but if I see you doing it, I will judge you and I will say that's lame and gross and you have problems, frankly. But that's okay. And finally, it looks like they are going to try and put the death penalty on Luigi Mangione is the last thing that I saw. And simply, if there's anything we know about athletes, musicians, entertainers, civil rights activists, people who become heroes, and make no mistake, to a certain segment of the population, he is that, even though obviously not to everybody. If you kill this man in his prime, they will hang his jersey in the Pussy Wedding Hall of Fame. I'm just telling you. Okay? I'm just telling you. If they kill this man in his... If he gets old and people hear from him and he does some pot... The last thing this guy needs is exposure. If they give this guy a platform to talk, if they put him in San Quentin prison and give him a podcast, he will ruin his legacy. Ruin it. The last thing he needs is to go out there and talk and let people hear him and people get used to him and people get sick of him and they like him and they turn on him and they hate him and they chew him up and they spit him out like every form of popular media and culture. The best move for him, granted not in his own entire personal life, is to get smited down by a Trump regime that many believe is evil while he still has an 8-pack. They will hang him in the Pussy Wedding Hall of Fame. Stay away, Luigi. Stay away from the beautiful, lush confines of San Quentin prison. Because if you get there and you get in front of a mic, you will ruin everything. Thank you guys so much for listening to the show. This has been The Joey Show. Please tell a friend. Tell a friend. I don't know which friend, to be honest with you. You really have to know them well, but tell someone if you're enjoying it. Let's try and spread this thing word of mouth a little bit. We love the 12. We love the 12. I appreciate you every day. Thanks for listening. Thanks for commenting, liking, reviewing, whatever the fuck. You know all the things. Subscribe on the YouTube, like everywhere else. This has been The Joey Show. I'm Joey Avery. I will see you next Thursday. Good night.
Thank God I have a podcast.